So we've been covering the way that the Dobbs decision overturning Roe versus Wade has shifted the types of voters who were registering to vote, and apparently based on the special elections who are then going ahead and actually voting in these elections. It's not just, though, that women are registering more than men. There's some new data that indicates young people who tend to be more Democratic are also registering in larger numbers. Let's go ahead and put this up on the screen. This analysis from the Houston Chronicle says young Democrats are flocking to register to vote in Texas after abortion ruling, data shows. They point to, in particular, this is data from that company TargetSmart again, which I want to fully disclose, a Democratic-aligned firm, but one that they really rely on in terms of accurate data for their own voter drive efforts. They say that of 80,000 new voters added through the end of July, Democrats now have a 10 percentage point advantage, making up 42% to Republicans' 32%. Before the ruling, Republicans had a 5-point advantage. So it went from Republicans having a 5-point advantage to Democrats having a 10-point advantage in terms of voter registration. And they are finding that it's not just women, that new voter registrants tend to be younger. And obviously, that's one of the trickiest parts of the Democratic base to turn out. So interesting news here.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, note this very carefully. Are we saying Texas will go blue? No.
No.
Are we saying any?
Banner's going to win.
Are we pointing only to young Democrat registration, which is a verifiable fact? That's it. And it has gone up after the abortion ruling. Will it sway Texas politics? Probably not. Will Beto win? Probably not. Will this possibly change things on the city and the gubernatorial level? Or sorry, on the local level? Yeah, maybe. And I think that in trends, then you could say, well, that's interesting because it could boost young voter turnout maybe in other blue states, possibly red states, which would then have downstream effects on, midterm races and others. It's just a data point that we're trying to point to and look at, especially given what's going on with polling right now. I think it's an important caveat.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, this is just, we're trying to read the tea leaves. It's very difficult to know whether the polling is accurate, but the voter registration data is what it is. And we have seen, the interesting thing about the data related to women is that it is very tied to whether or not they saw abortion access as being on the ballot. So in Kansas, where you had that direct ballot initiative, you had the largest swing in terms of new women registering to vote. In other states, I think it was Michigan was another one where they felt like, okay, the governor's race is on the ballot. I think there's going to be also a direct abortion access ballot initiative there as well. You saw significant swings. In other states like New York, where they didn't feel abortion access was as threatened, you didn't see that same shift in voter registration data. So it's a pretty compelling case that it is very much directly tied to Roe and what happened there. So what is this all going to mean for the fall? Hard to say, but obviously it's harder to get young people to turn out. When you see young people registering, that bodes well generally for the Democratic Party and is a good indicator for them. Is it enough to overcome in Texas? No. But you could extrapolate that this is likely happening in other states as well, where it could ultimately matter.
Yeah, exactly. So look, if there is ground for surprise, it will possibly come from these things that very notoriously don't show up in polls. It's one of the reasons Obama was such a stunner back in 2008. Young people, obviously, if the turnout actually changes even a little bit from their end, can change and impact the election. We'll see how it goes, but interesting stuff really happening all around the country as a result of Dobbs, which has really just thrown things in a different direction than where things that were already headed. There we go.
All right, guys, more for you later. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.